And we're on. Ann Christine, thank you very much
Oh,
for being so nice and agreeing to be with me in this podcast. It's really an honor to have a figure like you as a guest on my show. Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
I'm very happy to be here.
I really had no idea, first of all, that you lived so close to me all this time. Like, I mean, country by. And you did an extraordinary job on the book Among the Unknown Tribes. I will start from there. That you co-wrote it with Bill Broyles and Phyllis Lafargue, and then Richard Longarn and Eugenia Macias Guzman.
Yes.
For the people who don't know for what kind of book am I talking about, it's where you guys represented to the whole world the figure and the work of Carl Lumholtz, a Norwegian who was a
Yes.
Victorian era explorer, anthropologist, natural scientist, writer, and photographer who worked in Australia, Mexico, and Borneo. The book itself, like, among the unknown tribes, presented more than 200 of Lumholtz's best photographs, many never before
Yes.
published from the archives of American Museum of Natural History in New York and then of Museum of Cultural History in Oslo, in Norway. What was the volume of pressure having to deal with that precious material, first of all, because of the magnitude of carefulness on developing or just dealing with it would be enormous. Also, having such great co-authors around you, like, it takes another level, I would guess.
Well, no, I mean, I've been working as a photographer for 50 years. So I'm used to handling film, glass plates, prints, whatever. So I never felt the kind of pressure there. But what I find it's more urgent to do, and that is I'm actually doing extra work for the museum now. I'm retired, but I make extra work to register the photographs properly in the
Art.
database.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the pressure was the problem was working with people in across the Atlantic, because I mean, first when we decided, first I was invited to write a short article about Lumholtz, because I discovered we had some negatives. We didn't really know what they were, and so we found out that they were from the expedition he made in 1910, and which was later also in Among Unknown Tribes. But so I wrote an article about those photographs, which were probably discarded negatives or something like that, and because they were extra extra negatives, doubles and things, and so when that was going to be just an article in something called the Southwest Journal, and when the director saw the photographs, he said, "Why don't we make a book?" And so in 2008, I was invited to Arizona. First, I was in New York, so I went to the American Museum of Natural History, and then we went to uh, Phyllis Lafarge and we went to Bill Broyles in Arizona, and then we were some other people also. Richard Larn was with us, and we made a trip. We stayed 3 nights in Mexico in places where Lumos had been. That was really fascinating.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Such a great experience. Uh,
Yes, but it was not easy to communicate and to get my ideas through and things like that. But I mean, finally we managed to make a book.
did
The
it?
idea for the cover is mine.
Okay, okay. I was going to ask you, like, did any of your ideas come up though? Okay.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
If you had the
I mean, a
cover,
lot of us, but I mean, I I was the only one who had experience from working in a museum,
right?
and the standards you have to follow, and if a university museum is going to publish something, you have to be very serious. And we had quite some clashes about that, because they made captions which were sometimes rather childish.
Okay.
and things. And I said, we can't write that way. We have to write things properly.
Sure,
And
because
well,
it was a serious project, right? It's the
yes, it was a
magazine.
very, very serious project. And I mean, it's University of Texas Press who published it. And I don't think they had published it if it was not as serious as it was.
Hmm. I can imagine it. Well, I think you guys did a very, very good job because the book in itself has a very awesome collection of Lumald's photographs. Like
Oh,
it
yes.
really depicts his recorded like journey. And
And then we have lots of photographs from his trip to Borneo, and he came there, and he went to Borneo to kind of uh, get people to work with him because he wanted to go to New Guinea to
okay,
make an expedition there. And so, but so first he made one trip in the north along one of the rivers, and when he came back, it was in the beginning of 19 no summer 1914. No, it was the war, First World War had started, and the Dutch governor said, well, I can't guarantee for your safety if you go to New Guinea. So he went to India for a while,
okay,
and he spent 8 months there, and then I think he realized he had gotten a lot of money to make this expedition, so he went back and he made two more big expeditions in Borneo. So we have some 200 photographs from India, which are very, very interesting, and we have some 500-600 photographs from Borneo, which I'm working with right now, registering, and hopefully I will be able to write more about, because this material, people know the photographs of this book through Central Borneo,
right,
but the rest of the photographs people don't know.
okay. What made you like to spend so much time in that area? What did you find so special about those places, like Kosovo and Albania?
Well, in 1974, I published a book about women's double work, professional women at work and at home, together with two Swedish writers. And when we had done that book, there was a friend of mine who said, well, shouldn't we try to go to Albania and see if we can make some kind of reportage there? And so we went there, and I mean, it was so restricted. I don't have many photographs I consider very good, but uh, with this, it's such a long time ago now. So I have another. I realize the historic importance of the photographs I have. But I met Berit Backer there, the Norwegian anthropologist, and she had taken a month off because she was making field work in Isniq
Okay,
in Deccan in Kosovo, and she just had a month's vacation, and she was a kind of representative for this travel agency in Durrës, and we started talking. And her father, she was very interested in photography because her father had been a photographer, and during the Second World War, but he died shortly afterwards. But he made a fantastic work in northern Norway, liberation of northern Norway.
oh, okay,
Ole Friele Bakker, his name. And I also had a copy of my book with me. So I showed it to her, and she was and she started telling me about her work in Isniq and everything. I thought it was very, very fascinating. And at the same time, I had heard a radio program about Nivokas.
okay.
It's a very traditional village, very close. It's north of Jakova, very close to the Albanian border. And she had visited it, and there were some Swedes who had been to the same place, and they made a radio program about this village, and I was very fascinated. And so when Berit started telling about her work, I recognized a lot of the things I heard already. So I said, well, why don't we go there and make a book?
Right.
And so we had to find a way to finance the whole thing, and we thought we have to try to make a kind of film or something. So we went to Swedish television, and we made several proposals for films, and finally they accepted one. Uh, it's a 30-minute film based on still photographs, and based on the interviews with some women in the village. But a lot of people have asked about this film, and I said no. So I realized now, no, I mean we were so naive and we knew so little, so
It's not
just forget
probable.
about it. But I had a lot to make that film. I had a lot of color film with me, and I had a lot of black and white because we wanted to make our book also. So I was photographing parallel for our book and for this film,
So two
and
cameras
and
though, right?
yeah, I think I had 3 cameras and 5 or 6 lenses or something like that. We had a lot of equipment with us, and we had good recorded interviews, and we had traditional music and a lot of things like that,
So awesome.
which we used for this program later on.
As I depicted, most of your pictures are in black and white. Uh, Those are
Yeah, well, some of the color pictures I have converted.
okay.
Before I couldn't use them, but when you can scan photographs, you can convert them, and I think I'm pretty good at converting it because I'm not a good color photographer.
Somebody
but
has to be
it's
on black and white. So
one of my colleagues said many years ago when I was talking about showing photographs, my photographs from Isniq and from Albania later on, and he said, how can you, who make such good black and white photographs, be such a bad color photographer? I said, I don't know. Like, it's also you concentrate on the light, and you concentrate on the composition, and I mean when you work in color, you all the time. You have the risk that suddenly there is a man in an orange coat coming in the back or something and destroying it completely. But no. So I mean, I have digital cameras now, but I convert the color files to black and white.
okay, awesome, awesome. As a witness of another perspective and preserver of moments captured and stilled in time, what was changed of that area from then to now, culturally and traditionally wise? Should should I?
Oh, that was a bit difficult question. Uh, well, Kosovo has always been a very poor area. So I mean, already from the 1960s, you had lots of people who went to Western Europe, men who went to Western Europe to find work to support the families in the villages, and and uh, and then later on, they had a kind of uh, educational revolution in the 70s, and so the young people uh, went to school and learned more and more, and so they continued. They went to university, and like when they could use their own language well, they took other areas like medicine. They educated their own doctors not to be dependent on the Serbian authorities, and then they developed in different other areas. So most of the young people moved to Pristina and the big cities, and very often you only had the old people left behind, and that was even more obvious when I went back. Uh, I had an exhibition in Pristina a year ago, It
Okay.
opened on 5th of December a year ago.
I think I
And
saw an interview for a TV local
yes, they made Orastat
or I start
made,
KTV.
yes,
I think. Yeah, I think so.
yeah, Clown TV, yes.
Yeah.
So we went to Isniq, and I had told some of my friends that I said, call your mother and say I'm coming. And that was very, very great. And so we walked, but that, what I realized then, that was that it's only the old women left, old women and young women and children who are left in the villages, because all the others are in the cities to work.
Right. No men.
Very few men left in the village, and that must be very difficult for
Well,
them. But it's also before they were farmers. They had lots of, they still have cows and sheep and so on, but not in the same amount as they had before.
sure, sure. Do you still feel the warmth you felt like when you traveled there before, or are you just familiarized with the environment now that you don't notice something of that kind has changed? Because it can happen, you know.
Pardon? No, I don't hear what you're saying.
Uh, do you still feel the warmth you felt when you traveled there before? Like, or are you just familiarized with the environment and the people, and you don't notice that something like that has changed?
No, I mean, when I meet my old friends, they are they became my friends in '76, and they still are my friends. But they are very. I realized last time they are very few, and actually, people think I know all of Isniq, but I don't. I know 5, 6, 7, 8 families, and I mean there are almost 300 families or something like that. So I just know very little part. But the people I know, I think it's very fantastic to meet them again, and they are as, it's as good to meet them now as before.
I understand. It looks from the photographs that you traveled almost in all the cities and a good amount of deal in the villages also. But were these just one of those one visit day on the city and then back to the village again, or did you rent in the city and spend some time exploring it and stuff?
No, it was because we had a car accident on our way down,
Oh,
and so we had to depend on buses. So we stayed most of the time. We stayed with 2 families in Isniq, and then we went. For instance, we went to markets in Prizren and in Peja, and we had to go to Pristina. But
Jakova maybe?
no, we just dropped by in Jakova, just changed buses.
Right.
And so we spent most of the time in Isnic, and then we had to go to in Peja, of course, and then we had to go to Pristina because we had some things to arrange with there, and because of the car accident and everything. So when I see now how short time we had, and I'm amazed at all the things we managed to do, because we met a lot of people and we talked to a lot of people, and we made lots of
What
recordings and
year?
things.
What year was the accident? Do you remember?
The accident?
Yeah.
Yes, it was when we were going down. When we traveled down from we traveled from Sweden
Okay.
through Germany and Switzerland and Italy, and then we traveled through Yugoslavia along the coast
Okay.
and in the mountains of Montenegro. We could have disappeared there.
Oh my God.
We had an accident there. Yeah,
So
and
luckily, all of you were
the
safe.
car was a complete wreck afterwards.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, so we had to. Berit had to go to Isniq and ask her friends there if they had someone who could come and pick us up with all our luggage and everything.
Well, that's an experience in itself also. So
Oh yes,
adventure.
I've been writing about it
Right?
in the book.
When are we going to expect the book to come out? And can you tell us what made you start writing this book and why it took you so long to to start working on it?
Well, Berit and I, we had this idea that we wanted to make the book, but first when we came back uh, to, I went back to Sweden and she went back here to Oslo. Um, we had an obligation to make this film because the film that paid for our trip.
Okay.
And so we spent a lot of time in 76 and the beginning of 77 to edit this film, and it was on the air in March 1977. And then bit gradually she went back, and she, because she had to take her she had to make her thesis as an anthropologist, and I had to make a living. I mean, I was a poor freelance, so I had to make a living, and I mean, gradually it's kind of everyday life took over, and we didn't have much time to do anything about it. And then in 1979, I moved here to Oslo, and I got married in 1980 and started a family. So in the beginning, I didn't have much time at all to continue working. And also, uh, I realized that Berit had big problems writing. And so she kind of, she said all the time, well, you can do the writing. And I said, I, I don't know enough. I can't do that.
I don't
But
want
actually,
to.
pardon?
I don't want to. It.
No, she didn't want to. No, I realized. I mean, after her death, when I've seen a lot of her work and published and unpublished manuscripts and everything, and I realized she really had a hard time writing, and she was also very strict to herself, and things had to be proper, you know, and so. And I had a family. I had my children, and uh, it didn't seem like we were going to be able to make anything. And then in '92, when things were changing in Albania, Berit was in contact with people in Albania, and with something Instituti Culturis Popular,
Okay.
and they said, we found out that
Oh, nice.
maybe we should persuade my museum. I was working at the Ethnographic Museum, it was called then, to make an Albanian exhibition. And Afrodita Onuzi, who was then vice director for the institute, she helped put together an exhibition. We borrowed about 350 items. I mean, dresses, jewelry, cutlery, a lot of different things. And she came to Oslo to put up the exhibition, and we became very good friends. So I was invited by her to go to Albania in 1992, and so I went then, and then I've been traveling many times after that in Albania, and very often Afrodita has helped me. I managed to get grants to do these trips, and Afrodita has been helping me all the time, arranging contacts, people. 1991, and then in
Oh,
'92, I was there first time after the fall of communism, and then I was there in '93 and '94, '96, etc., etc.
right.
And then I've been the more I've been traveling, the more I've also made friends with other people in the West, interested in Albania and things like that. And so I worked for two summers. I went to work with a project in the Shala Valley in
Okay.
Theth,
Yeah.
and So, but at the same time, I had my work at the museum, and gradually I worked 100%, and I had my family, so it was very difficult for me to write the book. Uh, but it was actually after in '92 that we saw the change coming in Albania. That Berit and I, we decided to sit down and make plans for a project where we could kind of compare uh, village
Before and
life
after?
in Kosovo. Pardon?
No, I was thinking that you were going to say like compare before and after, like before the communism.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and also compare. I mean, village life in Kosovo in 1976 and life in Albania after the fall of communism. Uh, and we sat down and we wrote uh, an application for a grant and everything. And the same night, Berit was killed.
Oh my God.
Yes,
When
that
where
was in 7th March 1993.
where did this happen? This happened in Albania or
No, in her home here in Oslo.
what?
Yes. Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't actually. I'm just in shock right now. Oh,
Yes, I feel awful every time I talk about it because it's still very, very painful.
wow. That was a shock to hear.
Yes. No, it was. I mean, there are a lot of speculations about this guy, but what they said in the city court of Oslo was that um, he probably had psychological problems because he was alone as a refugee here in. He was from Kosovo,
What?
and
Really?
yes, he was from. Yes,
Whoa. This is this is all too confusing. What the hell?
yes.
Uh,
So yes, it was a
It was
very strange
a big
situation.
loss,
But
I think.
pardon?
It's a very big loss. Condolences
Yes,
to
yes,
you as a friend
yes.
of hers and to her family members who still maybe live and stuff because
Yeah,
yeah.
we had a lot of. So after her death, uh, because very few people understood what the work Berit had done. I mean, she worked for the Helsinki Committee, and they understood the work concerning human rights. But the rest, her anthropological work and everything, I had a feeling no one cared about it really. And so I was the only one. I think I was the only one who really understand what she had been doing. Maybe some of colleagues she had been writing to, and so I persuaded the family that I could have papers that were available. And so I started reading about her. I started reading all the things she had written, published and unpublished manuscripts and everything. And because also she worked informing Norwegian government, Foreign Office, Department of Justice about the situation in Kosovo. And you can see from her work that she had an incredible knowledge about about the situation there, because her descriptions of what happened to people were so shocking. And then I became a member of this Committee for Human Rights in Kosovo, Demacis organization,
Okay.
and so I read all the communiques they came with, and I followed the situation very closely. And then I started to study the history much more. So I kind of, when Berit died, I was very ignorant. And I realized I was a bit stupid. I said, "Oh, I'll continue this work," and then I realized after a while I really didn't know uh, what I was doing. because I've been studying a lot. I mean, you have all my books here. That's my Albanian library. And also I've been talking to lots of people, and because of my connection to the ethnologists in Albania, I have learned a lot from them about customs, traditions, and everything like that. And I'm very, very grateful for that. It's been fantastic, really. But it was, had I not known Berit, I would not have been able to do this.
Right. That's such a shame, such a big loss, but also like what a bravery on your side, like to still trust that party, you know, like to go back there and continue your work and stuff like that. Like it's a big merit on your own also, because
Thank you.
not a lot of people that that are in similar situation that would behave the same, like maybe they would had a change of heart, you know, like
Yeah.
opinion of a whole nation and stuff like that. So um, in the name of all of my listeners and viewers, I will thank you that you never gave up on our
Well,
people.
what really gave me confidence in doing this was that because I went down, I went to Albania in 1992. That was the first time after the fall of communism. And when I came back, I wrote some articles, which I published about traditional culture and the situation in Albania concerning culture and how to keep the cultural heritage in costumes and things like that. And Berit saw those articles and she said, well, you can write any book, she said. She was so that was a good push, and that was just before she disappeared. I mean, she had this in 2018. She had this presidential medal from Hashim Thaci. So I was there together with two of my friends here in Oslo to receive the medal and for the family. And then they also have this Berit Backer culture house in Isniq, which
Okay.
is a kind of it's a theater.
When can we expect that album with your pictures of Kosovo and Albania region through the years?
The problem with the print house, so it's because of the COVID-19, it's been postponed, but the whole material, the whole layout and everything is done now, and yeah, the photographs are converted to right files for printing and everything like that.
Okay, I understand. Uh, I have I have seen something that you say, a saying of yours. You draw with light.
I tried to use the light. You know, photography betid,
Yeah,
photography,
yeah.
that is right with light. But it's I try to use light as much as possible. And for instance, I always try to put people in a good light, and if they're in a bad light, I try to move so I can get somehow to take advantage of light all the time. It's I mean, the light is photography is without light is it's I've been obsessed with this my whole life. And it's I live close to the river, Oka River here, and I have a camera all the time when I take my walks, and I always, even now, it's very, when it's very gray and dark, it's very difficult to photograph. But I try to see how can I use the light here to bring out things. But it's not so very often that happens now, right now,
But
because
what a
it's been
great
raining so much.
profession. Like it never gets old. Like your profession, it never gets old.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that's very
I
impressive.
mean, like you have reflections of light in everything. And when it's been raining, you have when the sun come out and you see what happens with the wet streets and there's something happening all the time with the light and there are new possibilities all the time.
What a beautiful job. Have you ever considered, with all this experience, to become a mentor of new students in the near future? Or maybe you have been?
I was a teacher for a while when I went to this Christer Strömholm photo school in Stockholm in from 1968 to 71. And at the same time, both in 1971 and in 1973, I was a teacher at the same school. And but later on, there were some people who wanted me uh, to be to have workshops, but they only wanted me to have workshops for women. And I
Oh,
said, well, I can teach anyone. Why should I only be a teacher for women? I mean, that's silly.
yeah, right.
I mean, I don't like that divide at all. And I've been writing about that also because they say, well, the male and female photographers are different, and but I'm not really sure that's right. Some people are very tough, and some people are very emotional, and 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 that has nothing to do with sex. It has to do with the personality. Like I have a colleague who died a year ago, and he was working very much with people who were kind of down and out on the bottom of society. But his love for people was amazing. I mean, you didn't think about, is this a man or a woman who's made the photographs? He made fantastic photographs because he was a very good person. And I think that is one of the good things with the photo school where I went, that uh, was not the most important was not to become a photographer, but to become a fellow human being. I mean, you have to have compassion with people. You have to have empathy, and if you don't have that, okay, you can make a success with advertising or whatever. But I'm not I'm not at all interested in that.
Does Ann Christine Eek have a favorite photographer?
Yes, W. Eugene Smith, who lived in he died in 68, I think. He was a fantastic photographer. He started working during the Second World War. He went to the Pacific and made photographs there. And afterwards, he persuaded. He was not a simple person. He was a very complicated person, but he persuaded Life magazine to send him to Europe, and he made fantastic reportages. He made one reportage in Spain called Spanish Village, and then his most fantastic reportage is Nurse Midwife. I think it was published in 1952 in Life. And he stayed for several months with a black woman. It was the first reportage about a black woman in the States. And he stayed at her place in southern, in some I don't remember really where it was, Carolina or something like that. And he followed her round the clock, and because she was both a nurse and she helped bring out babies and everything, and his photographs are so exceptional, and also that method he had was very inspiring to me. So I've been trying to work the same way in my reportages, to follow people round the clock.
Wow.
I mean, you can't only take photographs in the middle of the day when the sun is shining. I mean, what was even more interesting is to photograph people like when they come back from work and they're extremely tired and they fall asleep in front of the television set and everything like that.
Do you think the new technology has helped creating lazy photographers?
Well, for instance, what
Manually.
I learned when I started working digital was I learned so much about exposure, about using flash, because I was so afraid of using the flash before that. I mean,
Right?
my professional work at the museum, they had lamps and things I had control, but I was so bad at using flashlight, for instance. But then when I started working digital myself, I could see right away on the screen
Really?
how it worked, and I learned so much from it. And for instance, my son, who is a filmmaker, he also has a very good still camera, and he's learning new things every day. And there are so many tutorials you can, and he comes to say, "Oh, look at this," and he's been exploding last year as a photographer. He's a very good photographer, and so no.
Such a great relation. Like,
So we used to take walks together and photograph side by side, and we come out with completely different images.
what an awesome experience. And thank you so much for being my guest. It was a real honor for me to talk to you.
And thank you. It was very nice talking to you, and it's always good to have new questions and to make you start thinking. Well, how was that? So
I hope nothing
thank you.
was a cliche. So the
No. I was so surprised when you started with lupus because,
right.
uh, yes,
Well,
there are very few people who know about that work.
I was really amazed.
One more thing,
Yeah.
uh, because you asked about a difference, and I realized when I started working on this book, I wasn't on Facebook before, but then my son suggested that I should have my own page where I publish the photographs, and it's been so helpful. I've been in contact with so many. I've gotten so much information about people, and if there are people I want to find out who is this person, I just publish it, and there's always someone responding very quickly.
Right.
Yeah, and that has been fantastic. I've been so since I started working, since I started writing 3 years ago. Uh, I've learned so much more, which is so fantastic. I mean,
It's awesome. Like, it helps a lot.
yeah,
It really does. And again, thank you so much. If you ever need any help with any translation from English to Albanian or Norwegian to Albanian, so just hit me up. So I will be here. I'm not going anywhere.
thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome. Uh,
Okay.
yes, everybody, this was the episode for tonight, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.